Hello everyone. I thought I'd do an impromptu bookshelf tour because the internet is down and there's nothing else to do. So without further ado, just let's get straight into it. So this is going to be a rather, because it is impromptu, it's not going to be a very aesthetically pleasing bookshelf tour because at the moment my bookshelves are in complete disarray. But no matter, it's all about the books themselves. So we'll start off with this. This is just a sample of waterproof fabrics, which I ordered for a project. Let's remove that. We'll start over here. So I have Swallows and Amazons by Arthur Ransom. I really enjoyed this book. I've read it a couple of times. It's very boating based, so if you're not really into boating, it might be difficult to get into, but I enjoyed it. It's just about a bunch of kids going on a holiday and they just do the old-fashioned thing of staying unsupervised by parents at a random island, going up and down, sailing up and down the river, that type of thing. Though I enjoyed it, I don't think I'd read the rest of the series because I'm not really that into boating. Anyway, moving right along. We have The Protectors by Pete Johnson. This copy is actually signed by the author. At least I'm pretty sure it was signed by the author. I'm sure the signature must be in here somewhere. Don't tell me. Don't tell me. Oh wait, hang on, it must have been the other book. Okay, so I had another book by the author, which was signed by the author. This one wasn't. I always remembered it being this book. Oh well, you live and you learn. But yeah, Pete Johnson. Don't really see his books around much anymore, but no, he's really popular in the UK way back when. And then we have some books by Lauren Child. These two are in the same series, these three. So it starts with Utterly Me, Clarice Bean, Clarice Bean Spells Trouble, and Clarice Bean Don't Look Now. I really enjoyed these books. I can't even remember how many times I've read them because I've read them that much. Then we have Sandy Simmons, Show Stealer, Sandy Simmons, Superstar, Sandy Simmons, and The Spotlight Spook. These books, I bought them mainly for nostalgia purposes because I read them when I was a really young child and I really enjoyed them. So I bought them and I still enjoy them, to be honest, and I let my niece and nephew read them too. Then we have Knitbone Pepper, Ghost Dog, Best Friends Forever. I really enjoyed this one as well, and actually I'm in the process of... They have some really nice pictures, and I have coloured in some of them, as you can see. I don't know, I just really enjoy colouring in pictures for some reason. Even if they are in reading books. I know that's kind of like a sin among bookish fiends, but what can you do? Then we randomly, in the kids section, have Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe. I really enjoyed this book too, read it multiple times. It's just such fun to read about survival and caveman-esque living. It's just such fun. I really enjoy those kinds of books. Then we have Mystery Stories of the 19th Century. I've had this since I was a kid. I felt really mature and grown up when I read it as a kid. It's got quite a few stories by short stories by different authors. We've got Wilkie Collins, Elizabeth Gaskell, Arthur Conan Doyle, Edgar Allan Poe, so quite a lot of famous authors there and their lesser known works. Then we have 2 stories by Jules Verne, Around the World in 80 Days and 5 Weeks in a Balloon, both of which I really enjoyed. I really like this guy's humour, and I enjoyed the stories too, except because I'm not particularly clever or educated person. The scientific jargon that he tends to use kind of went over my head, so people who are more knowledgeable about science would probably enjoy it even more. I enjoyed it even though I'm not. Then here we have Match a Pair of Birds card game. Absolutely love the illustrations on this. Then we have flavoured coffee, gingerbread flavour. This brand is actually no good. I bought a bunch of their coffees thinking it's going to be so exciting and flavourful, and it really wasn't. A real disappointment, so I wouldn't recommend. Yeah, so then we have the Beatrix Potter collection. Again, I bought this mainly for nostalgia purposes. I absolutely loved her books as a kid. It's the only thing I wanted to read for many years of my life. And they're still enjoyable as an adult. And actually it's really interesting to see her art evolve over the years. So that's another thing. But I got a really good deal on these books. I must say, they usually go for about $50 if you want to get them brand new, and I got them for £20 and they were like new. Amazing! Anyway, moving on. Here we have Beside the Sea by Hannah's Hotel Beside the Sea by Mark Burgess. I really love the illustrations. The story's nice too. I tend to like to buy children's books that have lots of writing but also really pretty illustrations because it's fun. Yeah, so I really like the illustrations. I find them quite inspiring, and I'm not really an artist myself, but I do like to do doodles and I do like to dabble in painting, so it's quite inspirational. And just looking at pretty pictures anyway, it's fun. I had another book from this series, but I lent it to my nephew and he lost it, as children are wont to do. Over here we have a bunch of Western books. It's a bit random when I got them. I just got them because they were in the withdrawn section at the library for 10p each. I got a few more, but I gave them away because I didn't enjoy them. I kept the ones that I did enjoy. So we have 3 Days to Angel Pass, Whispering Skull, The Phantom Strikes, and Pay Dirt. Of these four, I think I enjoyed this one the best. And I'm also glad now that I did get them, because I'm a huge fan of Red Dead Redemption 2, and so I feel like I've really honoured Arthur by owning cowboy books. So we're just going to put that there for now and organise it later. You might notice some cobwebs and dust all over the shelf because I said I haven't organised it in ages. How it works, the student, I got this from Poundland. I expected it to be really funny, but it wasn't. They tried though, they tried. I plan to give this away. Then I have 2 books by Rowan Gavin from the Knightley and Son series. Knightley and Son and K9. They were good books, I enjoyed them, but I'm giving them away because I don't feel attached to them, and I might as well spread the love. Then I have Travels in the Land of Serpents and Pearls by Marco Polo. So this is actually just an extract from his book, his travel book. I got this from Waterstones for £1 and I really enjoyed it, so I think I'm going to get the full volume. Then I got Charles Dickens, the Great Winglebury Duel. I've tried multiple times to read Charles Dickens books, but I find them really difficult to get into. They're just not my thing. I don't really like his style of writing, and I'm sure the plot is really gripping, but if I can't stand his writing or his prose, then what's the point? So I'm going to give that away too. Moving on to the second shelf. Let me just stand on a stool. So on the second shelf here, we have a treasure box filled with coins from all over the world. We have this thing which my sister got me from Morocco. We have Garden Birds by Collins Gem. Very handy pocket guide to British birds. Then we have the RSPB pocket guide to British birds. Again, very handy. As you might have surmised, I do really love birds, and I want to know all about them. Then I have If the Sea Was in the Sky, a poetry collection compiled by Fiona Waters. I got this from the library too from the withdrawn section, probably for about, how many pence? 20 pence, as you can see. I really loved the illustrations in this, but the poems turned out to be pretty good too. Watercolour. I really love watercolour painting, and I tried to do a bit of it myself, so I thought, why not have a book filled with watercolour to inspire me? Even stuff like these washes, I just love that. It's so nice. Anyway, so that's that. Then we have 3 volumes by Miles Kelly. Nursery Treasury, Hans Christian Andersen's Fairy Tales, and Bedtime Stories. Yeah, so I read all of these and I enjoyed them, but I think eventually I'm probably just going to gift them to some children, like my nieces and nephews, or children of family friends, that type of thing. We have Usborne 10-minute fairy tales. I love the illustrations in these books. And 10 more 10-minute stories. Again, read the stories, really enjoyed them. Might keep them, might give them away. You just never know. Then we move on to my absolute favourite collection that I own. I just can't believe I have them, to be honest. There was a point when I thought I wouldn't own these books. But they're the Usborne Illustrated Originals, and because I really love children's books, and these are illustrated on top of that, and I love illustrations, it just felt like, of course, I had to own them. So we've got Heidi by Joanna Spyri, I think that's how you pronounce her name. Complete and unabridged, but I will say that this version has a new translation to most versions, so it's not exactly like perhaps the Heidi you may have read as a young gun yourself, or even as an adult. I mean, I'm an adult and I still enjoy children's books, but as you can see, the illustrations are so cute and lovely. So I do prefer the original translation of Heidi, I have to say. Then we have White Fang, one of my all-time favourite stories ever. Again, the illustrations, so wonderful. Really capture the magic and enchantment of the story. Then, in the same series, we have The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, Around the World in 80 Days, The Railway Children, and I have to say, this one's my favourite from the Usborne Illustrated Originals series. Look at the illustrations, they're so cute. I just love it, and the story is good too. Actually, I've read a lot of E. Nesbit's works, her stories. They're really fun. Then we have Black Beauty and The Jungle Book, which I've read multiple times. In fact, most of the books on my shelf I've read multiple times. Then we have the Incorrigible Children series. So we have The Incorrigible Children of Ashton Place, The Hidden Gallery, The Unseen Guest, The Interrupted Tale, and The Unmapped Sea. So I've got one left to read. I know it probably bothers some people that they're all in different bindings, some paperback, some hardback. That type of stuff used to bother me too, but when people started gifting me books and they didn't always get me the bindings that I specifically wanted from a series, I just learnt to let it go and love and appreciate the fact that they thought of me at all and bought the books that I wanted. You know, these 3 books, they were gifted to me, and I love them so much, all the more because they were gifted to me by loved ones, despite the fact that they don't match, you know? Then we have Dear Hank Williams. Might as well warn you right now that it's going to be a really long haul because I do ramble. Then we have 3 books by Matt Sewell. Our Garden Birds, Our Songbirds, and Our Wooden Birds. And I've actually got his other book where he talks about all kinds of animals. Hang on. Here we go. This was randomly on one of my other shelves. A Charm of Goldfinches and Other Collected Nouns. So it's got all kinds of animals, not just birds, and talks about them a bit. So as you can tell, I really like his illustrations, really love his artwork, and also the information in his books. Then we have a few books by Sarah Meader, I think that's how you pronounce it. A Bowl of Olives on Food and Memory. So again, this isn't really a reading book, but I absolutely love looking through this because it's just so gorgeous and again inspirational, gives me ideas for my own scrapbook. Sketches from southern France. Isn't that just so beautiful? And this one, In and Out of the Garden. This one actually has a few recipes in it as well, which I've been wanting to try, but never gotten around to actually trying. And then here we have some fashion books, which aren't actually mine, they're my sister's, but she keeps them on the shelf. They're all by Megan Hess. Fashion House. New York Through a Fashion Eye. Paris Through a Fashion Eye. And Coco Chanel. Can I just say I don't really like Coco as a person, but no doubt her fashions are pretty cool. So that's the second now. Then we move on to the third one. As you can see, very dusty. I mean, I know that's gross to many, many people. I don't exactly love it myself, but I've just been so busy. It just always seems kind of unnecessary to dust shelves anyway, because don't you think that dust is part of the charm of a library? Okay, I'm trying to make it work, but... Okay, then we have 10 Nasty Little Toads by Steve Cole. These stories are hilarious. I know they're targeted at kids, but it made me laugh out loud, that's for sure. Then we have Chitty Chitty Bang Bang by Frank Cottrell Boyce. So this is a spin-off of the original classic. I think it's considered a classic anyway. It's really funny. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and The Race Against Time. This is my favourite one in the series. And then Chitty Chitty Bang Bang Over the Moon. This was kind of a letdown for the last book in a series. Then we have the P.K. Pinkerton series. Well, it would have been the series. I lent the other 3 books to my cousin. But this one is The Case of the Bogus Detective. I really enjoyed these books. Then we have The Pendowicks on Garden Street. I really want to read the other books in this series, but I've never gotten around to it. Then we have the Stella Etc. series, Frankie, Peaches and Me. By the way, these are by Karen McCombie. Meet the Real World Rachel, Truly Madly Megan, Amber and the Hot Pepper Jetty. I read these when I was a young teenager and I loved them. So again, I got them for nostalgia purposes, though I have read them as an adult and I do like them. Then I have The Mystery of the Clockwork Sparrow by Catherine Woodvine. And the second book in the series, Mystery of the Jeweled Moth. There are 2 more in this series as far as I'm aware, and I really want to read them. Then we have actually won these 2 books in a competition, Flood Child by Emily Diamond and Blood and Fire by Emily Diamond. Girl with the White Dog by Anne Booth. The Song from Somewhere Else by A.F. Harold. I really, really liked this book. Chinese Cinderella by Adeline Yenma. I really enjoyed this book, but it's infuriating because the things she has to go through are so awful and bad, and you just makes you want to punch a wall because you can't believe that humans could actually do that to one another. It's horrible, but good. Interesting. Then we have Moondial by Helen Cresswell. DJ Brazier. No, Alone by DJ Brazier. This one is like a teenage version of Robinson Crusoe, and I really enjoy it because, again, it's all survivally and having to rely on your wits and going back to basics and all that good fun. Then we have The Adventures of Robin Hood by Roger Lancelyn Green. I haven't read this one yet because I bought it recently. And The Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grahame. Then we have the original translation of Heidi. I really enjoyed this book. I read it multiple times. Aesop's Fables, just can't go wrong with those. They're actually really fun and clever. A Little Princess by Frances Hodgson Burnett, one of my all-time favourite books ever. Cuckoo Song by Frances Harding, I think. I really enjoyed this story as well. Her writing is so wonderful. She has such a delightful turn of phrase. A book that I got from the withdrawn section at the library, Sleep No More, 6 Murderous Tales. They're pretty fun. Long Lankin, such a great atmospheric, creepy story. Really enjoyed this one. There's another book as well that comes after this, but that one was pants. Okay, third shelf. We have, can't believe I'm getting out of breath just talking about books. The Woman in Black by Susan Hill. I think everyone's heard of this. Then we have a few books by Mary Coquette. We've got Strange Valley, 12 Gold Chairs, Boat Girl, Farthing Bundles, and The Wild Place. This one was my favourite book of hers that I've read. And then it's probably a tie between Boat Girl and 12 Gold Chairs. Then we have a few books by Joanna Aiken. They're not in order, actually. I should put them in order. The first one in the Wolves Chronicle, The Wolves of Willoughby Chase. Black Hearts in Battersea. Then there are a few others. This one comes down the line. This is Dido and Pa. And then this one is actually, like, what do they call the books that come before an actual series? I forget. Prequel, that's it. It's a prequel to The Wolves Chronicles, The Whispering Mountain. That one was prequel, but these two are my absolute favourite in the series. They're the best ones. Then there's The Tale of Despereaux. I haven't read this yet. Someone gave this to me. It's been collecting dust on my shelf, but I intend to read it at some point. Daddy Longlegs by Jean Webster. She's actually some relative of Mark Twain. I think she's his niece. So it was funny actually, but I was a bit disappointed by the ending. Then we have The Warden's Niece by Gillian Avery. Is it Gillian or Gillian? I don't know. Jemima and the Welsh Rabbit by the same author. Then we have the Sleepover series by Sharon Simon. It's a series of spooky stories. So basically, it's a group of 4 friends. They have sleepovers in various locations and they tell scary stories. Some are true to them and some are made up. So we have the Secret Room sleepover, the Snowed In sleepover, the Haunted Hotel, the Campfire sleepover, the Shivering Sea sleepover, the Lost Attic sleepover, the Silent Pool sleepover, the Silver Palace, and finally the Spellbound sleepover. These are really fun to read. Then we have the Green No series by Lucy Boston. So we have the Children of Green No. Oops, that fell. These are all sort of the old retro editions. The Stones of Green No, An Enemy at Green No, The Chimneys of Green No, The River at Green No, and A Stranger at Green No. Please don't fall. My favourite one was this one and the first book, which has fallen on the floor. They were really fun to read. Very enchanting. Then I have some random books by random authors. Green Smoke by Rosemary Manning. The Wool Pack. This is like historical fiction. I really enjoyed how it's actually pretty educational. It tells you how things worked way back when. The Chewing Gum Rescue and Other Stories. The Flying Classroom by Eric Kastner. He's the same one who wrote Parent Trap. I haven't read it, but I want to, and actually I really enjoyed this book. Some very clever observations on the way humans work. The Dribblesome Teapots and Other Stories, The White Doe, A Pair of Jesus Boots. This was turned into a TV series way back when as well. The Lost Prince, also by Frances Hodgson Burnett. Tales from the Chalet School and Theodora and the Chalet School. More Chalet School books. I've really enjoyed these. Then we move on to the Little House on the Prairie series. So the first one I've lent to someone, then these are the other books in the series. These Happy Golden Years, Little Town on the Prairie, On the Banks of Plum Creek, By the Shores of Silver Lake, Farmer Boy. So this series is actually really fun and interesting because obviously it's based on the author's actual childhood, and it's all about when America was being built. So it's fascinating that in that regard, but I don't think you can read all of the books back to back because it gets quite repetitive and boring. So you'd probably have to read one volume, read something else, and then come back to them. We have Princess Tales. It Was a Dark and Stormy Night by Alan L. Berg. The Bear Nobody Wanted. I really enjoyed this. Really enjoyed that book. And Journey to the River Sea. Star of Kazan. The Golden Day by Ursula Dubosowski. Oh, by the way, this is by Eva Ibbotson. Quite a famous author. Then we have Roald Dahl's Boy and Going Solo. I've read that countless times. And then we have the adult version of Enid Blyton's famous 5. So 5 Go Gluten Free, 5 Go Parenting, and 5 on Brexit Island. I found these in Poundland, so I just bought them. They're a bit funny, but not that great. Then we have Edge of Nowhere by John Smelker. I don't know how to pronounce that name. Again, this is like an indigenous Alaskan version of Robinson Crusoe. It's just like a survival story, but what drew me to it is the fact that the author is an indigenous Alaskan and so are the characters. So it has that really interesting cultural element. And also learning that I too have like 0.01% of indigenous Alaskan heritage just really felt like I could connect to my ancestors by reading this book. And last but not least, on this shelf anyway, we have Home is a Place Called Nowhere by Leon Rosselson. So that's these shelves done, and now I'll probably do my other shelves in another video.